Hello, this is Kid Bandit, the protagonist of pro wrestling, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Kaliko?
Well, considering what happened the next night, sounds like it might be a lot sooner. You might see him a lot more often than what you're accustomed to, because it's very rare you see people on there as the champion unless you're planning on them being on the main roster. Prime example: Kevin Owens was on as NXT champ, and next thing you know, main roster. So it's all within the plan, as they say.
What about you, Scooter? How do you feel about that?
Well, considering the rumor is they want to bring him up um, to Raw as soon as possible, leaves the without a doubt that we'll see Braun much sooner rather than later.
What say you, Drew?
I agree with what all you guys are saying. I think him coming up to the main roster, I think he's one of Vince's projects from this new version of NXT. So yeah, bringing him up, it could be a little too soon, but who knows?
I mean, he's only been really wrestling for, legitimately for what? 6 months at that? Maybe this is maybe too premature to bring up a guy that green. Kaliko?
Well, in essence, I could make the argument: A, he's probably been in developmental longer than that, and then I'm thinking B, he's a Steiner, so it's not like he's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He got an inside track on it, a la Charlotte Flair. You know what I mean? He's been around the business. He knows people in the business. Fuck, his dad's Rick Steiner, crying out loud. So, I mean, that lends more credibility and more benefit of the doubt than someone like, I don't know, Grayson Waller, or, you know what I mean?
Who?
Waller.
Waller. You knew who the hell I meant. Whaler, Waller, that guy.
I still
Like
have
Amanda
no
He gets a
idea who
benefit,
you're talking about.
but
The
he
guy
gets a
who
pass.
the guy who AJ Styles fought on NXT.
But I mean, if you
Yeah.
wrestle AJ Styles on NXT in the woods, does anybody see it?
Yes, people see it.
Well,
Wrong time to ask that question.
well, that begs the question: did Dolph Ziggler winning the NXT title matter or mean anything, Drew?
No, I just think it's a way to heat up Dolph Ziggler because he's been hella cold for the last, I'd say, like 3 years. Like, he has great matches. He's a very good worker. But I just think character wise, they have nothing for him on the main roster. So they just throw him back into NXT and put the title on him. Maybe try to give the NXT title some kind of like shine instead of having it on a guy that's only been in the business for 6 months. So it is what it is.
But does it kind of devalue the title to a degree, considering Dolph Ziggler's been wrestling longer than NXT was an actual thing? Whoever wants to answer that.
Depends, because you want to know why? Because usually when you get WWE main roster people fucking with the NXT people, you usually think it's a automatic win for the NXT person. But for the first time, they actually followed the script, and somebody of Dolph Ziggler's caliber should be winning a match like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because it wouldn't make sense to put him in a match just to lose if you're trying to make it seem like being a main roster guy is a big deal.
Well, I mean, Finn Balor went that back down to NXT, and he maybe only lost like 3 matches the whole long way.
That's true, but it also showed that being the main roster person and going back, you could, you know what I'm saying? It shows the growth, right? Because if to
Yeah.
go back there and just to lose a bunch, what's the point of being on the main roster? You might as well just stayed in NXT, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Finn went back to be part of NXT, not just to not for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, because he felt more comfortable in NXT anyway. And plus, Dolph's a former heavyweight champion. Why wouldn't he be? You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that made more sense if he had a won. Because Ciampa, what is a reign going to do for him? Because he's going on the main roster.
He's on the
Breaker
main
at this
roster.
point is going, huh?
He's on the main roster.
That's my point. He's there. Breaker's on the way.
And of last night, Pete Dunne is on the roster, on the main roster. But
Oh,
Yep.
fantastic.
but oh god, we have another name fiasco here. Yeah, he teamed up with Sheamus and Rich Holland,
Oh no.
and they've given him the nickname, or I don't think they've actually just renamed him this because why would you? But Pete Dunne is now known somewhat as Butch.
Okay. That is about
He, does,
like I thought it was gonna be.
he doesn't look like a Butch.
I mean, he
Let's say
looks
you
like a
do.
bitch.
Wait,
Did he look like a bitch? No,
Yeah.
does Pete Dunne look like a butch Drew?
Um, I wanted to jump back into the whole NXT thing. The way that you guys are explaining it, it's like if you look at Major League Baseball being called up from AAA, it's like you guys are saying these guys going back down. It's like this in a sense to me how it sounds. It's like it's discrediting NXT more than it's even helping the person that's on the main roster. It's like NXT is this developmental or this like minor league system where guys can come back and like pretty much reinvigorate their whole career for being on the main roster, even though they look like crap on the main roster for many years. Like look at Finn Balor injuries and poor booking, and same with Dolph Ziggler, and they just go back to the minor leagues and they look like they're major stars again. I just don't see the point of guys that are on the main roster that have been on the main roster consistently for many years and have done stuff like Dolph Ziggler going back to the developmental doesn't really help the developmental. It just helps the individual. And with this whole name change or name changing or calling people different names on the main roster, I hope if Braun Breaker is going to the main roster, just change his name to like
he chose it though. He chose
oh
one. Yep.
oh god. Like of all names to choose, it's like the worst thing you could ever do, but it is what it is at the end of the day.
I mean, he could be named Butch.
Uh, but going back to that, NXT now is more akin to an independent promotion, and it's an indie at this point where the occasional big name star shows up and and works a program for a set amount of time. It also evokes the style of the old NWA when the what do they call it? The board of champions would get lent out to NWA territories. It, that's what it is for the most part,
It's
and
essentially Smoky Mountain Wrestling to WWF.
that's actually I think a better maybe even the USWA.
I mean, at one point, Undertaker did a shot for Smoky Mountain against the Christmas creature or whatever his name was at that time, but essentially Kane. I remember. So
So yeah.
Yeah.
It's just about, you know, giving NXT, that little bit more of credibility, the potential of a slight jump in viewership, and getting an interesting story out of it, because now you have this main roster guy who, as of as of now, on the current roster, I believe is the longest reigning tenured superstar as of now.
So they say
Being
something.
being over 17 years, and now he's got that prize that all the NXT roster is wanting. It's almost even akin to, you know a really tall guy picking on a midget and just being like, "Hey, try and get it, try and get it, try and get it." And no matter what, they can't get it. But eventually, one of those midgets will realize to headbutt him in the nuts and get it.
Well, to your point, obviously, as fans, I could equate Ziggler to X Pac. I mean, good worker, but you know, why is he still there? But having him down in NXT, I don't want to say it gives credibility to the belt because I really don't think it does. But to actually have matches with these young green guys and kind of take them under his wing and kind of mentor them into having, you know, good to decent matches. I can understand where that's something beneficial to that roster right now to have him on the top to kind of teach them. What say you, Drew?
I agree with that. I just I just look at it like maybe with this whole new rollout of NXT and the color changes and everything like that, it's personally I really don't tune into NXT anymore. I just feel like it's kind of like the same people doing the same thing over and over again, thinking there's going to be a different result. And maybe putting the title on Ziggler will heat up Ziggler, number one, for a main roster push. And also, it kind of introduces some of the guys that are down in NXT to the people that may not watch NXT on a regular basis, like myself, that, oh, I don't know that guy, but, oh, I know Dolph Ziggler's down there, so maybe I'll check it out. But at the end of the day, I just think, to be honest with you, maybe I'm just not a fan of Dolph Ziggler anymore. I just think he's been there too long. I think he needs a change of scenery. I think,
That's
and maybe
possible.
NXT is his change of scenery, and maybe this will heat him up to do a program with somebody that of relevance on the main roster going forward
What
after
say
he drops the NXT title.
what say
But
you, Clover?
I I see Drew's point, but I also look at it like this: A, like we just said, he's the longest tenured dude. So A, who would be more WWE style as far as teaching him, other than him and Kofi Kingston and The Miz? Like,
Really?
right?
Yeah.
Um, Two, him being the champ, that means I think it's more important for whoever beats Dolph for the championship will be more made than Dolph, because that's the catch, right?
Yep.
Because beating Braun for the belt, it's like, okay, he was green, he gets the benefit of the doubt. Well, he just got there, right?
Right.
So the next person that beats Dolph will be a very credible person, because even though we think Dolph is not the guy he was in 0809, but his his accolades is what's made him, right? So that's the part that I'm thinking of. And then with NXT, it was always supposed to be developmental. And for some odd reason, it by them signing bigger people and bigger names and letting them do their style, I can understand why NXT kind of got away from the developmental part. Because we'll sit there and complain about, oh, gee, they're not making new stars, but yet they're signing all these indie dudes, and we're expecting the indie dudes to be the indie dudes on WWE, when in actuality they're going to be nothing, nowhere near what they were in the indie scene. It's like we're expecting them to be Tim Tebow from Florida when they get to the NFL, and it's a whole different game, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that part to me, I can see why, and that's Vince's way, for better or for worse, of him taking the people, molding them in the image that he wants them to be, which is more entertainers than wrestlers. Because we could say Daniel Bryan is a hell of a wrestler, Cesaro's a hell of a wrestler, but it's entertainer. Prime example, better wrestler, Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, between Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, and The Rock, you would say Daniel Bryan and Cesaro, hands down, right?
Yeah.
So,
But the better entertainer was,
The Rock.
and that's what they're going for.
No, you definitely have a point there. Um, we are going on to another subject. WWE may no longer be a part of 2K games. Apparently, WWE 2K22 maybe didn't do as well as they had expected it to, and they're maybe thinking about going to greener pastures. Me and Scooter maybe had a conversation about this early in the week, and maybe a possibility of them going to EA. You was against that, right, Scooter?
Yes, and
EA
but,
Games, for anybody that don't know.
yes, yes. But the reviews on the game are all positive. They are. It is finally it is a good game. It is reminiscent of the early PS2 SmackDown games and everything. It's fun. Uh, if EA publishes gets their hands on the license, uh, do we all not? Uh, do we all remember WCW Mayhem
That was on not Nintendo 64.
and PlayStation?
Oh, really?
Yep,
I think
it
I have
was
the
on both.
I think I have the Nintendo 64 version.
And that was not. It was not a good game. Of course, the industry's increased by leaps and bounds. If EA gets their hands on the license, we're going to end up with microtransactions throughout, to hell and back. Yes, there are microtransactions uh, in 2K22. They aren't required for anything. You don't need to. They're optional, uh, and it's for primarily a mode that doesn't yet have an online component. So the with if EA gets the license, I would see it only being a money thing, and the quality of games would be terrible. Quite honestly, if they're gonna sell the license to any other company, I say give it to Epic
What?
and let them make something out of the Unreal Engine.
But doesn't I think Epic only makes Fortnite at this point. I don't remember them making a game for the last like.
No, they make other games. They purchased they bought games outright to publish, like Fall Guys and Rocket League. They're but as a development company, they have developed the Unreal Engine, which is used in everything from video games to car displays in the
Movies.
latest modern cars, movies. Uh, it's even being used in the classroom. Like that's how. Like that's the possibility of that, especially since the Unreal Engine version 5 has been released, and there was a demo demonstrating it for next generation hardware, revolving around The Matrix back when The Matrix Resurrections was first released on HBO Max. And it broke down the entire engine from start to finish. It was clean, it was crisp, and if they could turn, you know, something like that, if they could get something, basically, if anyone else could do it justice, it would be Epic and the Unreal Engine.
Kaliko, your anything you want to add to that?
I mean, just take it back to the Coleco vision. No, I'm just joking, just joking. Uh, but it's kind of weird because EA, when you think of EA, you only think of Madden, and you only think of Madden because of Madden. So if this was EA 0405, I can see your point in going to EA, but 2K, when you think 2K, it's just like, man, it's universally known at this point because NBA 2K. Um, I think the year off kind of hurt it because of the fact it was just a bad reputation. I didn't think people were just going to, because especially how bad 2020 was, they took the year off and came back. You expect people to come back, towing in the waters. It's kind of like when the Note 8 blew up and then the Note 9 came back and everybody was like, let me double check. You know what I mean? And I think that's the phase. So I think, personally, I would say hold out, wait till people, actually play the game, review the game, and go from there. Because to me, when it comes to naming, 2K is hands down top three when you think of gaming in a sense of like yearly releases and not having to deal with like seasonals. Because like it's 2K and Madden and maybe FIFA or those weirdos that play Tiger Woods. I don't know, but
Do you have an opinion on this, Drew?
I'll keep it quick. I totally agree with what Scooter's saying. If EA gets their hands on this license, they're gonna, excuse my French, shit all over this game. Because we've seen over the years, if you're an NHL person, you're if you like NHL, you're stuck to playing EA. You like Madden, you're stuck to playing EA. You like even soccer, you're stuck to playing EA. And all those three games I mentioned have huge microtransactions. So as a fan, you can't just pick up the game and just play the game and enjoy the game for what it is. If you want certain things, you got to pay for it. And that's what, honestly, to me, that's what's killing and hurting EA's bottom line. And that's why a lot of people are kind of turning away from those games. I also agree with what Scooter was saying too with this whole, if Epic got our hands on it. Maybe the year off with 2K helped it in a sense because they were able to work out the kinks and see what their issues were because 2020 was a horrible game. And to me, if they're going to sell the license to somebody that's actually going to take care of the game and actually make a game for fans to enjoy. And marketing wise, stick if you're not gonna sell a license, stick to 2K because everybody knows 2K and the people that know 2K honestly play 2K games like NBA 2K and as a marketing thing, just keep it to 2K. But if you're going to sell it to somebody that's actually going to give two shits about the game and not just try to make transactions so they can make a bag of money off of people.
Well, I could equate this scenario into what kind of happened with Assassin's Creed back in I don't remember what year it was, but Unit when Unity came out. It was a horrible game. There was a lot of bugs. It was not ready to come out. And then the very next year, they came out with Syndicate, which was an awesome game that was really a quality game. But nobody bought it because they still had a bad taste in their mouth because of Unity. But out of it, we got Origins. I can't remember the other one that came after that one, Origins. But we got more of an open world, a different type of game than what we were used to playing in the Assassin's Creed universe. But what I'm getting to at this is that if it doesn't stay, if it does stay with 2K or it does go somewhere else, something needs to change in the game to get people excited about it again. Because I I haven't played a WWE game since 18. I mean, I had 19. I didn't play it at all. So I kind of feel like they need to kind of invigorate the casual player that wants to relive the Attitude Era again, or have WrestleMania do every match that was ever take place at WrestleMania, or something like that, like we had in the THQ days. But that's just my opinion. All right, let's get on to another subject. Kevin Owens challenged Stone Cold. I don't want to say to a match, but it was kind of like a match on Monday Night Raw. Austin responded he will be at Mania at least night one. Scooter, is this a match? Is this a KO show? Is this just a beating on KO?
I believe as of right now, this is a match. Um, Austin responded on SmackDown saying he was lacing up his boots, to open up one more can of whoop ass. He's been working on his cardio. Um, uh, it could, it might be. He has been really, Austin has really been trying to get in shape. They want it to be more than just, stun and done. Um, it, I think, I think they're kind of winging it at this point, seeing how Austin is for, before WrestleMania, if he'll be cleared to actually have a match. We know it's going to be at least a fight sequence. Um, but there's the
Not pre-recorded.
possibility. No, not pre-recorded. But there's the possibility of the KO show segment happening on night one, and then the actual match happening on night two. I could see them bringing out, JBL and Shawn Michaels and Booker T, all the guys Owens mentioned, and them doing something similar to, Vince and Brett at 27,
26.
where 26, my bad, where Austin doesn't do a ton of the beating, and still comes out looking like he did something.
What's your opinion on it, Drew? And should Austin actually have another match?
No, no. I'm just like, I know you're trying to sell WrestleMania, and we talked about this earlier about the whole them not building new stars. You're going to bring back a guy that his last match was 19 years ago. If it's a match, I don't really care. If it's a KO segment, it's something to kill time on WrestleMania night one. If it's building to a match on night two, I don't care. Like, Austin should just come out and do what he normally does. Stun and I like what Scooter called it, stun and done. That's cool. Maybe that's a T-shirt coming up on Pro Wrestling Tees. But that's what he should do. It should be a KO show. Owens ran his mouth. Those guys come out, like you said, the Texas boys come out because they're all from Texas. And then they beat up on Owens. They stun him. He takes all their finishers and he leaves them laying and pops some beers and gets on the turnbuckle and flips the bird and Bob's your uncle. That's what it should be. I don't need to see a match with Stone Cold and Kevin Owens, even though they have like a long history, because I guess they kept showing some picture of Owens and Austin when Owens was younger and this, that, and the third. It's like if Austin was cleared, I would say end of 2021, and we knew that he was physically able to do a match, and maybe he came into the Rumble or something like that builds towards a match, then I'd be excited for it. Where it's just a guy calling out a guy, and then another guy jumps on social media to say, "Yeah, I'm coming to," and says his catchphrases. It's kind of ridiculous to me, and I don't want to see it. And I'll probably go out and roll myself a spliff when that's happening during WrestleMania night one or night two.
Yeah. Kaliko, you want to finish this off?
Damn, so many conflicting views on Austin. Damn, man, y'all were like, what the hell, bro? But as a person who was there at 32 when Austin came out, it means something in Texas, and I think that's what it is. And I get everything that Drew was saying, but this is a reason to get the casuals out, right? Because think about it. Taker's going into the Hall of Fame, so he's going to be at Mania when they induct the class. Austin's going to be out there, so he's going to be, and it's just I get what you're saying, Drew, but it's more to get the casual eyes there, and by getting the casual eyes, you can try to see if you can hook them into afterwards, right? Because this is probably the biggest audience. And let's just face it, when it comes to wrestling, WrestleMania is probably the biggest audience that wrestling's ever going to have, right?
Yes.
So they're just doing that to try to get those people to, you know, hook them in and go from there. Because watch, next year is going to be Rock in LA.
Yes. For sure.
So, I mean, that's the only way to get them to hook in. It's kind of a tie into the past, into the present, so you can see the future, right?
No, I absolutely see your point. But
Uh,
that being,
I
Scooter?
I I think I honestly think that uh, they saw the response to Punk and MJF, and Owens and Austin is their attempt to catapult on something similar, having somebody who's been gone for a really long time go up against one of the current, you know, high-profile stars of today.
That's interesting take. That being said, it's rumored that Seth Rollins is supposed to wrestle Cody at WrestleMania if a deal is made in time. Do you see that being a big match? And if Cody isn't there in time, where do you see Seth Rollins going, Drew?
It would be a big match because Cody Rhodes is like one of the founding fathers of AEW, and him leaving that promotion to go back to the WWE, and plus the amount of work he's done since leaving the WWE to put himself over as one of the top stars in professional wrestling, that would be WrestleMania. Um, do I see it happening? Or you ask, what if that doesn't happen? What would Seth Rollins be doing?
Right.
Probably being in the corner of Becky Lynch in the main event of night one, or of night one, with her match with Bianca Belair, because I don't see him in a program with anybody if that program doesn't come to WrestleMania. Who else is there for him to face?
I mean, nobody really of significance, honestly. Significance to him, anyway. Same question, Scooter.
I think we lost James.
Oh, I'm here. Hello.
Yep.
Oh no! I'm just,
Can you
I'm
hear
just
me?
fucking off.
Hello.
Your hand, your hand.
So Scooter. If not Cody, who does Seth Rollins wrestle?
Uh, I can, and I was reading about this. Cody will not be there in time for Mania. I can say that with 85% certainty. Um, as for if Seth uh, doesn't have a match, you know what? Put him in with put him with Owens. Uh,
But
and
Owens
then
has Austin.
but you put Rollins in Owens' corner,
I
or
like Drew's idea better. Put him in Ducky's corner.
and then you're gonna have fans complaining about Seth being emasculated.
Well, he doesn't complain about it.
Well, unfortunately, his opinion doesn't mean dick here. um, in all honesty, it doesn't. Um, well, I mean, Rollins.
You can't think of
I mean,
anybody.
now if you're gonna do it, maybe you can work up a quick program with Kofi.
What? I mean, Kofi's not a bad competitor, but why Kofi?
Because he's one of the few people that could that doesn't have a match at Mania that could get a decent match out of Seth Rollins. Because if we're not tuning in for the story, we're tuning in for the match.
It seems like Finn Balor is going the way of Damian Priest, right?
Yes, and I called that a long time ago. Demon versus Priest. It writes itself.
It sure does. Well,
Uh,
I'm
Yeah,
trying this out
I
too,
mean,
even of course. Goldberg squash match.
no.
fuck no.
You know what? Give Seth Rollins say it's a mystery opponent, and have Cena on standby.
I think Cena already said he wasn't going to be there. But I mean, that would have been a great match.
I feel like Seth is cursed in Texas because he didn't make the last Texas show either
That's right too.
Ooh,
due to injury.
maybe they'll get Sting.
Well, what about you, Kaliko? Do you think there's anybody worth Seth Rollins' time at Mania?
I mean, I just pray to God they don't put him in the Andre the Memorial Battle Royal,
Which is a good possibility.
which is the most seamless possibility right now because he probably will win the bitch.
Right.
Unless they pull Okada out their ass, I don't see everybody. I don't see a lot of. Um, I don't see anyone on that roster as far as the eye could see that Seth. That's the problem because Seth has wrestled everybody. Unless
Well,
HBK just pops out of his ass. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I
it
mean,
has to be somebody he never seen before.
he's down at NXT. That's a possibility.
I mean, Seth Taker? I don't
No,
know.
Seth Ciampa.
Ooh, Seth Champa.
that could work. I like that.
Seth Gargano could work.
Yeah, except Gargano's not coming back.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just.
Holding out hope.
Dreamers can dream, right?
But Gargano did create his own graphic based on the Veer Mahan thing. It says Quill Gargano coming to Raw soon.
Now, on another subject, John Cena is producing a new show for Peacock for WWE about evil.
Not that evil.
I didn't even know that it was. I didn't even know he knew who New Japan Pro Wrestler Evil was. Let alone make a documentary about the bastard.
James. Are you sure you don't have kids, James? Because that was a terrible dad joke.
Not that I know of. Well, it should be interesting to look into the life of Evil, the House of Pancakes. I mean Torture. Uh, and WWE's first production with New Japan, so it's all good there, right?
It's not about New Japan, James. It's about heels.
About Zeus?
James, I'm gonna punch you.
Did he say
You're talking
Zeus?
about
It's bad guys.
The Stephen Amell show. Okay, I gotcha. But I feel like that's a conflict of
But
interest. Because,
Arrow?
yeah, heels.
Oh,
But I feel like that's a conflict of
God damn it, James.
interest because CM Punk's on there and he's AEW.
Hold on.
They don't.
Hold on. hold on. Let me get this dead horse out of here. Uh, they might as well just call this WWE presents Kayfabe is dead.
Well, at least it's not about Yoshihashi. And what's your thoughts on Yoshihashi, Kaliko?
Fuck Yoshihashi, that's what it is.
There you go. But on to somebody we don't care about to somebody we do. Vader finally inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. Kaliko, start us off because I know you've been wanting this for the past, what, 5 years at least?
Yeah, that dude should have been in before he died. Because I met him like, it's crazy. I met him like right when the announcement, he was like, he only had like months to live.
Right.
And I thought that would have been it. And that was Dallas. Jesus Christ. Go figure. Comes full fucking circle. Um, so for me, that dude, WWE didn't do him justice, but WCW did him great justice. Because the one thing Vader was in the South was this big, badass monster motherfucker that looked like if he hit you, you're dead. And that to me was awesome and cool. That dude, man, my dad used to love Vader. Like my dad loved Vader. Like yeah, black dudes running around yelling, "It's Vader time!" And he should have been in while he was alive. And that's my only regret with it is that he's not in while he's alive. I'm glad that they're doing Sid Vicious. It feels like it's going to be a big guys Hall of Fame. Taker, Vader, Sid,
Well,
and
wait, did you see that Sid is being inducted?
yeah, that's the rumor. Is Sid's next.
Um, honestly, I was hearing before anything else that it was only going to be Taker.
Well,
And
Well,
rumors
um,
confirmed, so.
to me, I always said this. I think that after SmackDown, and I'll figure this out, I'm thinking he's going to be a speech amongst himself.
Well,
And
he's dead, so.
no, I'm talking about Taker.
My points exactly.
okay,
So,
Jesus.
damn.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Fuck it, fuck it, hey. But oh god, Jesus. But that's what I would think because I don't think they're gonna hold people there all night with a Hall of Fame and then expect them to be there at noon for Takeover. So, but back to Vader, man, he was deserving years ago, and that was before the WWE. WWE didn't do him justice, but his New Japan work, his Mid South work, his WCW work definitely uh, grants him this honor. And to be quite honest, I kind of feel like it matters, but it don't matter because he's probably in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame before he gets the WWE Hall of Fame. But that's a whole nother topic for another day. But congrats to Vader.
I saw Vader's last WWE match in in it was it August of '98.
Hmm.
August of '98, the house show in Nassau Coliseum, a triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship with him, Ken Shamrock, and Mankind.
That's definitely a banger right there. What say you, Drew, about this long-awaited induction of Vader?
Like Koliko was saying, man, this guy should have got his flowers from a long time. It's just sad that he's not here to like
Enjoy
see
it.
it
Yeah.
and enjoy it with the fans. Like Kliko hit everything on the head with his work in WCW. That's where I saw him, and that guy is one of the best big men in the history of this business. And that's sometimes that's what pisses me off with the WWE Hall of Fame. If these are guys and girls that, like, even Miss Elizabeth is not in the Hall of Fame.
No.
That's somebody that transcends eras, and they're not in the Hall of Fame. Like that's what's sad, and it takes people like not being with us anymore for us to say, well, you know what, now they deserve the flowers. But it's a happy day, but then it's like a little too late, to be honest with you.
Well, given that the other rumor uh, is Luger
Hmm.
uh,
I
uh,
didn't hear that.
going in, um, I could see why they might not want to induct Miss Elizabeth. One, for the circumstances and how she died, not how she lived. So you can't compare her with China and what China did throughout, and Sunny as well. That's how they lived, not how they died. Um, but at the same time, and I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for this, aside from one memorable speech in WCW and two memorable moments in the WWE. I'm sorry, three. We'll call it three. Four significant moments throughout her entire career as a manager. Other than that, Elizabeth didn't do much.
I feel like that's so not true, and that's that's definitely another topic for another time because she was the right hand of fucking Randy Savage. I mean, you don't see Randy Savage without Miss
You,
Elizabeth right there. So yeah,
you mean she was
she
petting
didn't do
Randy's right
much,
hand?
but she didn't have to do anything but be beside him to be over, and that was the whole thing with Miss Elizabeth.
That's my point. So
Look. I'm
recognize
saying, I'm
Randy.
saying the reason why I brought up Miss Elizabeth, it's talking about people that were relevant in the era. Who should have went in together? Maybe not her by herself, but when Randy and her were both alive, they should have went in together as wrestler and manager, like a team that goes in together. Yes, you're right. Miss Elizabeth really didn't do much when she was in the WWE. She had, you're right. It's three moments in especially in the WWE. She only had like three moments. The what? The wedding, beating up
It's WrestleMania 7,
Kevin,
and then relieving him.
SummerSlam.
and
SummerSlam.
SummerSlam. She had like a cup of coffee, but as what James is saying, I totally agree with that. That yes, you didn't see Randy without Liz. So together they should have went in. Even if you do it now and put them in together as a team, that would be great. But it's just, for me, the WWE Hall of Fame is so hokey. It does it's I don't really view it as a real Hall of Fame. I just think it's just this whole thing where they're celebrating their past at the wrong time. There's certain times you can celebrate your past when, like, yes, when, if there was an era that you wanted to put in a bunch of guys, yeah, it should have been in the 80s era, it should have been Liz, Macho Man, Jake the Snake Roberts, all those guys that were uber over, that people that didn't really watch professional wrestling in the 80s knew who the hell they were. But now you're just putting in guys. It's like, oh, you know what? Let's put in Vader because he's no longer with us. Yeah, he did some great stuff while he was in WWE and WCW, and we'll put him in. And we'll put in Davey Boy Smith, and we'll put in Lex Luger. And let's give them their flowers about what they've done as a job. If you're working at a place and over your career you are the person that has zero incidents throughout your whole career, there should be some type of plaque in your warehouse that says your name on it, that says this guy went 40 years or 20 years as a career in our business with no incidents. That's how you celebrate people, not when they're no longer with us. That's why the WWE Hall of Fame doesn't mean shit.
But something like that inherently implies that, oh, this guy didn't cause any incidents, but there are others that do, and that's something the WWE will never admit.
That's very true. I mean, I do understand what Drew is getting at because the way that they do it is very random, and that has been a problem with the Hall of Fame for many, many years.
Coco.
And God bless you.
Yeah.
Well, that's another conversation for now.
But think about it. The last person that got in and got their flowers like right as they were living, and then just went on yonder was Warrior.
Yeah.
So you would have thought when that happened, they would have made it like their duty to ensure that people got recognized before they freaking went on to the, you know what I mean?
They would have learned their lesson, man. They would have learned their lesson from that incident with Warrior. That weekend, he did everything to wrap up his career was so perfect, and then poof, he's no longer with us. Yeah. You should have learned. You know what? Let's jump on the phone and not like call Coco Beware to be in the Hall of Fame. Why is Coco Beware in the Hall of Fame? What? No. Yeah, he had a funny gimmick. He walked around with a bird, but he wasn't impactful. But you're right. They didn't learn anything from the Warrior incident, and that's why we're now getting guys like, oh, let's put Luger in because Luger's he's getting very long in the tooth, and we don't know much longer he got, so let's put him in. Let's put, the only one that makes sense, and they did it right, was The Undertaker. His career's over. He's retired. He's the only one that right now that makes sense. Let's give him his flowers right now. That makes sense.
Right.
Everybody else, it's just this random pick of the draw. It's like they just draw names out of a hat and say, here, this guy's going in the Hall of Fame. This girl's going in the Hall of Fame. Let's put this faction in the Hall of Fame. That's why I just feel I don't even watch the Hall of Fame, to be honest with you. And it's just a piece of it's a shit show. They don't learn anything. And if you want it to be a legit Hall of Fame about your history, I'm not saying you have to build a damn museum in Stanford to show memorabilia and plaques and all that kind of stuff. But if it's something that you want the fans to celebrate with these guys and girls that have meant something to a lot of people in their career, then do it smartly. Not this bogus BS crap, and we just choose I don't mean to bash on his name, but we just choose Coco Beware to be in the Hall of Fame because we need a warm body that has done something in our industry.
Well, my issue, and you're right with that, the whole point of that, the beef that I have with the Hall of Fame is that they try to make it seem like they try to put an emphasis on people that are living, and that's where it griped me. Because I'm like, there's so many motherfuckers that were living that you could have did this years ago.
Right.
And that's my point, because they're like, oh, well, we don't want that many people that are posthumous humorous in the Hall of Fame, but yet, you know what I mean. But you know what, you don't want to wait till, like, Because you don't want it to be where it's a celebration of dead people, but yet they're putting people in after they died, and that what throws me off. Like right after they died, or some shit like that.
Right.
In truth, Vader should have gone in the year following Hansen. Because Vader inducted Stan
2005.
Hansen. That was not 2005.
No, Hansen was in 2000. Actually, no.
Stan,
Hansen
Stan Hansen
was
a
all
few
later.
years
He was later, yeah.
a few years ago when Vader was still with us,
Yeah.
and Hansen should have inducted Vader the following year.
Wasn't that 32?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
pisses me even more off. That's what I'm saying. Like Vader was kicking at 32. I met the motherfucker, which threw me off. Like, why didn't they just give it to him then?
Alright, once again, big congratulations to Vader. Obviously, rest in peace, and we'll conclude the news for now. Now, a quick word from our sponsors.
Hey guys, this is Brutal Bob Evans from Hangs with Bob Seminars and TheWrestleLife.com, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.